So my first question to you guys is, I want to ask you, in your mind, what is Dharam? What's the point of Dharam? Where does it play into our life? Are we actually a part of Dharam or are we not? Before we look into anything, let's always, if you have any question about creation, laws, dharams, philosophies, something that you might think that is going over your head, always refer back to Siri Japji Sahib, always. Inside of Siri Japji Sahib, there is everything. There isn't anything that isn't answered inside of Siri Japji Sahib. They are literally this paudiyaan, the stairs to Brahm Gyan, to Brahmavastha, to enlightenment. So let's first look at what the akhri arth, what does dharma just mean in itself. The best translation that I've found is the law of being. Okay, so say that with me. Dharam is the law of being. How so? What is the nature of fire? To burn. Can you ever freeze fire? No, you can't. Fire is supposed to be hot. Anytime you think of fire, you think of hot, I can't touch it. That is the dharam of fire, to burn. That is its law of being. That is what it's supposed to do. That's part of the hukum it's inside of. Water has its own dharam. Air has its own dharam. Earth has its own dharam. Space has its own dharam. These 5 elements, they're all living within inside of this one hukum, inside of their own dharam. All, even the winds, the way the fire burns outside of your body, in the sun, or even inside of your body. The fire that's inside of your body that keeps your body heated, that is a dharam of fire. Your body can only function because fire lives up to its dharam. If fire ever goes outside of its dharam, it'll destroy your body, it'll destroy this entire house and this entire place. It is heating this entire place. That's why we're able to sit here without jackets. But if fire goes outside of dharam, on what we intend to not use it for, then it'll burn the place down. Same thing with water. If it stays within the 2 riverbanks, then it is inside of dharam. As soon as it goes out of the riverbanks and it floods and takes out a village, then we say that it's not inside of dharam. But whether we say it's according to dharam or not dharam, according to our benefit, that does not change what the quality of water is. Because water, all of these elements, they are always living in dharam. They never go outside of dharam. The law of being. So who created these laws? Who says that dharam, fire, is supposed to burn? Who says that water and ice is supposed to be cold? You can heat up water, you can mix both, you can use fire and you can use water, and when they mix together, they create something else, they create hot water, which you cook with. Okay, why isn't dharam needed? The truth is, without dharam, this existence wouldn't live. With every Monopoly board game that you play, every sports game that you play, every camp you organize, even your own house, everything, there's rules and regulations, there's ways things are. Your fridge is meant to cool things down, your stove is meant to heat things up. That is the dharam of the stove. What if the stove started cooling things down? You say, what's the point of that? What if the fridge started heating things up? You say, what's the point of that? It goes according to the way it was created. We say, Nanak jio paaya ka likh nave, dharma bahalya. Uthe sache hi sach nibde chun vak kade janmalya. So there's a few things that you need to know, a few terminology before we get into it. Dharam, the law of being. Okay, now the next, there is a Dharm Raj. Who is Dharm Raj? Dharm Raj, likhnave, Dharm Bahalya. Akal Purkh Sache Pacha wrote all of the dharms, all of the laws of hukum, the way the world works, and there is one appointed representative known as Dharm Raj, the king of what we call righteousness, the king of Dharm, and he sits on the throne of Dharm Raj and he makes sure everything is going according to Dharm. All of the 5 elements go according to Dharm, but there's one thing that sometimes doesn't go according to Dharm. Guess what that is? That is the human. Elephant goes according to its dharma. The dog does as well. So does the deer. But the human does not go according to its dharma. The human continues to live like an animal. The elephant goes after lust. You want to capture an elephant, the hunter sets up a picture of a female elephant. The elephant will come running and fall into the trap. The deer is enticed by sound. The hunter will just play a little bit of music and the deer will come running and the hunter will just bow down and shoot it. The bumblebee is enticed by smell. You lay out, the beekeeper lays out flowers, captures the bees, and there you go, they're trapped. This is what Maya does to you. But not in just one of these senses, all 5 of these senses. It is entrapping you. The way you take in everything from physically, and you say, this is what I desire, this is what I want, this is my gut feeling. Because you haven't even realized what is your dharma. That is Dharm Raj, the account keeper. Okay? Then there's a Dharm Sal. Next definition you need to know. Dharm Sal is the place where dharma is being carried out. Because in order to do something, you need a place for it. If we want to do this camp, we need a venue for it. If you want to play sports, if you want to play football or soccer, you need a field for it. So you need a place to carry out all of these things. This way, Tarti Thap Rakhi Dharm Sal. Akal Purkh, in order to carry out these actions of dharma, Akal Purkh created a place, created this world, created the earth. Inside of that, He put all of these different beings and elements. Even these 5 elements, they first make up this dharma and they are working inside of your body. All of creation is based around these 5 elements. Paramatma is working through them. They're inside of dharma, but now our minds, which are in ignorance, we do not see our dharma. And that is the beautiful game of it. Do not think it is a bad thing. No, it's a beautiful game of it. Inside of Sri Japji Sahib, 8 times the word dharma comes up. 8 times. And sometimes it means slightly different things. This is why it's very difficult to just go off of English translations. Because they'll just say righteousness on every single one. Manna dharma seti sanbandh. Manna, the arth, those that have fully accepted Akal Purkh, walked the way of Akal Purkh. Gaviya suniya man rakhiya pao. Listen, hear it, recite it, implement it into their heart. There is no going back for them. This is the avastha. Manna doesn't just mean, yeah, okay, I accept Guru Sahib, I believe they're Guru Sahib. No. Manna is the state of mind where you accept Akal Purkh, where there is absolutely no going back. And those people are always bond. Dharma siti sanbandh. They're bound to dharma. But what is dharma for us then? If that is the dharma, if that is the law of being, what is the law of being? What is a human meant to do? Because there's a rule, there's a way on how to get rid of your ignorance. The purpose why you came into this world, Bhai Taru gobind ki is teri bariya. That's the manukha dharma. There's that definition. Now 2 more words you need to know. One is sadharan dharma. One is asadharan dharma. Okay, so repeat these with me. Sadharan dharma. Asadharan dharma. Sadharan means something that's common. It's a common thing for everybody. Asadharan means something that's not common, something that's unique. Something that's common amongst all of us is we all breathe air. None of us breathes water, right? Hopefully not, Aquaman. That is common. We all need sleep. That is common. We all have 2 legs. That is common. Our bodies are all made up of 5 elements. That is common. Now, you go to anybody and you say, do you want happiness? I doubt you'll find anybody that says, no, I don't want to be happy. It's sadharan taram for human to want to be happy. Want peace, want sukh. In whatever, maybe the ways that they want it is different. Somebody wants it through gangs and violence and something, having revenge on somebody else. Somebody else wants it, happiness, by giving charity to other people. Somebody wants and is looking for happiness through athletic sports and entertainment. Somebody else is looking at through family and spouse. And somebody else is looking at through maybe spirituality and Guru Shabad. But we're all trying to search for the exact same thing. Peace, happiness, santushti. If you go to anybody and you say love, peace, happiness, oneness, you say any of these words, they'll say, yeah, I agree with you. Unity, they'll say, yeah, I agree with you. Because that's a sadharan taram. If you want to connect anybody, you have to connect them with something that is sadharan first. That's why, anybody makes a post about we should all unite because we are all one humanity. Everyone's going to like that picture. Double tap that on Instagram. Because everybody can relate to it. That's sadharan taram. Now there's something called asadharan taram, which is unique to others, unique to different people. My taram, when I go into the Guru's darbar, I bow down to the Guru. When I wake up in the morning, I read this much nitnem. Maybe my nitnem is different than your nitnem. You read different barniya, obviously after the Panj barniya. You read different barniya, I may read different barniya. My dastar may be tied differently than yours. I may dress differently than you. My accent may be different than yours. My language may be entirely. My upbringing, my life experiences may be different than yours. That is asadharan, something that is unique. Now, within this sadharan and asadharan, even the elements, they each have their own asadharan, something that is unique just to them. And in the same way, the Bhagats and the devotees of Akal Purkh, they have their own asadharan. Where the worldly we're chasing after pleasures, happiness. That is sadharan. Everybody is wanting the same thing, but the way they do it and the way they adopt the path to take on happiness, that becomes asadharan. That is not common, even though they're trying to chase after the same thing. But it's still inside of dharma. It is still a law of being. Bhagta da sansariyan jod kade na aaya. ठीक है? But those जिन्होंने मान ले आया, they are always understanding and going according to dharma. Tol dharma, daya ka poot. It was commonly known that there are 14 different worlds. Somebody said, what is the world standing on top of? They said, there's another bull underneath. They said, what is that bull standing on? They said, another earth, another tarti. And what is holding that one up? Another bull. You've all heard this. But look at this beauty. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, what is actually holding this world together? Whether you look at scientifically, gravity, so forth, and it rotates, and it magnetic pull, and the earth and the suns and the moons, whatever it may be, even the atoms are inside of its own dharma. The electrons, protons, neutrons have their own dharma. That's why they go according to the way. Physics is all the study of dharma, which is quite cool. So, keep this in mind. Sache Pacha is saying that what is keeping the world together? Dharma is. The law of being, because each element, every single bit inside of creation has its own dharma, its law of being. Therefore, the fire works in the way fire is supposed to. The dogs work in the way dogs are supposed to. The photosynthesis and the suns work the way they're supposed to. Tol dharma, daya ka poot. Now you take on the other sense. Tol dharma, where Akal Purkh has done daya, mercy, on creating this world, this amazing, wondrous play, That's where Dharam came out of. Because without Guru Sahib's mercy, Akal Purkh's mercy, the creation wouldn't have been created. It's the son of compassion. Where is Dharam born from? Let's say your personal Dharam. As a Gursik, we'll get to that after. First we're going to speak about Sadharan Dharam, then we'll get to the Asadharan Dharam. But just touching on it. Where is your Asadharan, where is your Dharam going to grow from when you start understanding compassion? Amol Dharam, Amol Diban. Which is saying that what is the price, what is the value of Dharam? I mean, without Dharam, there would not be anything to value. So what would you value it with? Money? Money is inside of its own Dharam. Without Dharam, nothing exists. Gave tohno pon pani basantar gave raja Dharam duare. Now we're speaking about the account keeper. But even the account keeper is singing the praises of Akal Purkh. The account keeper, Dharm Raj, is inside of its own Dharm. Dharm Raj can't decide that I want to, let this person go, or I want to change the laws one day of what is good or what is bad, what are good deeds and what are bad deeds. No. That Dharm Raj is bound by Dharm as well. So even Dharm Raj sings the praises of Akal Purkh. Gave tohno pon pani basantar, the air, the fire, the water, and Dharm Raj, all of them, they sing the praise of Akal Purkh. This is why Sabha kat Ram bula Ram bana ko bula re. Each and every atom, each and every heart, each and every cell in this entire universe, we don't have the ear to hear it yet, but every single bit is actually singing out the praises of Akal Purkh. Every single bit. Once you reach enlightenment, once you reach Brahmagyan, you will hear that as well. A small Sakhi I touched on with the group upstairs yesterday. Sant Taru Singh Ji Pindran. They were walking into a room, 2 people were walking with them. And they asked this question, what is Brahmagyan like? What is this meaning of this line? Sabha kat Ram bola Ram bana ko bola re. What do you mean everywhere Akal Purkh is speaking? Other than Akal Purkh, nobody speaks. They walk into the room, Sant Taru Singh says, I don't know. You guys do the Simran, I don't know anything. Walk into the room, they close the door, the 2 Gursikhs, they start hearing from the walls, Wah Guru, Wah Guru, Wah Guru, echoing again and again and again. They look at their hands and their feet, each and every cell of their body, Gurmukh Rom Rom Harte Ave. Each and every cell and each and every hair follicle of their body was echoing Waheguru Simran. From the ground, the earth it was, eventually everything was lost. They did not have any consciousness as well. Many hours went by. They woke up, that experience was not there anymore. But it was just echoing, roaring Waheguru into their ear. There was nothing other than that Simran left anymore. They asked Sant Taru Singh, who was sitting on the manja, and he was just sitting there scratching his leg. And they said, what was that? He said, what was what? No, you guys just fell on the ground. Imam Purkhandi Nimrta Hundi. They said, you do know. What was that? And Sant Taru Singh said, you had a true question inside of your heart. Akal Purkh had mercy upon you and showed you a sneak peek of what Brahmagyan is like. But why are you not experiencing any more? Because now you need to do the work, make the efforts and achieve it yourself, where you can constantly live in that state. Everything is inside of Dharam. Everything is singing towards Akal Purkh as well. Kave chit gupt lik jana hai, lik dharam vichare. Even Chittar Gupt. Every single thought of yours is being accounted for by the subconscious reader and the conscious reader. Chittar Gupt, things that you say in front of everybody and the things that are deep inside of your mind, in your subconscious, which you haven't even thought of yet, but they're still there. That mal, that filth is there. That is being accounted for as well. And that is being read by inside of the law of being, the law of creation. This vich dharti thap rakhi dharmsal. Now we came to the word dharmsal. Dharma khand ka eho dharma. In order to understand this line, you have to look at the full body. Because there is something called Dharma Khand, 5 Khands. And the very first one, before you reach enlightenment, before you reach any of that, we all must understand what Dharma is. Dharma gives us happiness. Dharma protects us. Dharma gives us the path. If you understand Dharma. Beginning to learn Sikhi, many people try to jump to Gyan Khand. That's the problem. You ask questions, yet you don't want to adopt Dharma. You say, but what about this? What about this? All those questions will get answered automatically once you walk the path of Dharma and you reach the state of Gyan. Asking just question after question after question at the beginning is great just to know. But without taking a step yourself and adopting anything, manne ka dharm se teesan band, you cannot continue. And then at the very end inside of Salok, changiyaiyan buriyaiyan vachai dharm hadur. All the entire Salok of Shri Japji Sahib, to be honest, is just explaining everything. Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tart Mahat, Divs Raat, Doi Dai Daya, Khilla Sagal Jagat. You breathe because of your breath. I'm going to say this now, I'll come back to it at the end. Keep this in mind. You are alive because of your breath. That's why it's considered a guru. A person who doesn't have a guru, consider them dead. Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tart Mahat, Divs Raat, Doi Dai Daya, Khilla Sagal Jagat. It's all inside of one game of day and night. There's always two. Up and down, left and right, cold and hot, mad and sad. And day and night. When the sun comes and the moon comes, in this entire time, if there was no day and night, all of us would actually go mad. Because we wouldn't have any sense of time. So because there's a sense of day and night which is outside of our control, therefore, that keeps us inside of some sadharan dharma, which we don't even realize that we're abiding by. Day and night is actually part of dharma. Changiyaiyan, burayaiyan, vachai dharma hadur. Now your dharma, what you do, your deeds are all being accounted for inside of dharma. Changiyaiyan, burayaiyan, vachai dharma hadur. Karmi apo apani. Based on now your own actions that you do, some are led closer to Akal Purkh, some are led far away. That is all inside of Dharma as well. Are you living up to your true nature? See, you look, this is a little bit of openness given to you inside of Dharma. The law of being is this. You cannot escape the law of being. You cannot say, well, I also want to do bad deeds. I also want to never meditate on God, but then also reach liberation, also, reach complete enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. Because there's some openness given to you. And that's inside of the law. The law is you can choose to go this way, or you can choose to go this way, but you can't escape and say, this way, I want to go a fourth way. Rati, Ruti, Thiti, Var, Pavan, Pani, Agni, Patal, Tesviche, Tarti, Thap, Rakhi, Tanusal. This is what Dharm Khand is. Explaining the day and the night and the weeks, the way the cycle of time works. In the midst of this, Akal Purkh created the place where Dharma is going to be carried out. There are many, this which Ji Jogat ke Rang, many different colors, many different species are put inside of this Dharamsala. Tinke naam anek anant, many have different names. They all have their own karmas that are being accounted for afterwards, but your darbar is always true. Akal Purkh's darbar is separate than this. The Teswan, Panch Parvan, the great saints that adopt all of the qualities, they are honored in that place. Nadari karam pavani san kach pakai othe pae nanak gaya japa jai. We don't realize this here now, but when we go into Dargah and we end up going to that place when our accounts are being read for, that's when we will realize. Nanak jio pae ka likhna ve dharm bahalya. Uthe sache hi sach nibda chunwaka kadeja jamalya. Those people that walk the righteous path, they are honored, and those that don't, they are picked out. And sent to the city of Jamdut. Sent to the city of the messengers of death. If you look at that picture, just beauty in nature. Why do we always connect to nature? Because there's something about nature. Everything in it is working in Dharma. The water, the lake is, the mountain is. You look at the wondrousness, you know it's not man-made. Even though somebody may not believe in God, they still might say, this is something beautiful to see. This is not something you can explain. You just say, wow, it's a beautiful sight to see. Because there's something you're connecting to, but you don't even realize why you're connecting to it yet. That is because of your sadharan dharma with the universe. So, a few things. Speaking to you directly now. For you, how does dharma, righteousness, what is righteousness really, where does it come from? Righteousness, the word doing and walking the path of what is right. You get it? Right, and then you add the chus on the end. Right? Righteous. So you do what is right according to the way that you are supposed to be living the law of being. What is the dharma of a human being? What is the point of you coming into this world? That is what dharma is all about. So how do you grow your dharma? How do you grow your faith in dharma? Where does dharma begin from? Is when you speak the truth. That's simple. Everyone says, Sach bolya karo. How does dharma grow? Dharma is grown when you start building with compassion. Through compassion, dharma grows. It is raised. When you are completely selfless and you don't want other people to suffer, you may suffer upon yourself, but you want to give to others. This is what Gursikhs are like. Bhai Gurdas Ji compares Gursikhs to trees. They say how? Because look at a tree. Anybody can go up to the tree and they punch it, they throw stuff at it, but what does it give to the world? It gives fruit. Everybody goes and they try chopping the tree down, but it gives them firewood. People don't like the tree, but they go under it and it gives them shade anyways. That is what a tree is like. And Gursikh is like a tree. It doesn't matter if somebody gives them pain, they always give positivity to the world. This is how you grow your dharma. How does dharma remain? Because once you are growing your dharma, you don't want to lose your dharma. So how do you keep your dharma? You want to stay focused, but there's things in life that distract you. What are these things? You need to learn forgiveness. If you're able to forgive somebody, you can keep your dharma steadfast. You won't waver. And how is dharma destroyed? How do you lose your dharma? Is when you get angry. When you give in to anger. As soon as anger comes into your mind, your buddhi is nas, your intellect is destroyed. You're not thinking for yourself anymore, and there you go, all your dharma is out of the way. You punch, you kick, you swear. This is how dharma is destroyed. What is the greatest dharma? Sache Pacha is saying. Take this line, just touching on it. Sarb dharma sresht dharma. I mean, I changed the translations. It was just saying, out of all religions, what is the greatest religion? But that's not what dharma means. Madhab means religion. Dharma does not mean religion. Dharma is something that you abide by. There is a dharma within a madhab. So you have your dharma towards your guru. You have a dharma, a certain responsibility towards your mother and father, towards each other as campers. Your dharma of you sitting beside her is not to punch her in the face. Right? Do you get it? It's just the law of the ways things are. But now, out of all dharmas, what is the highest? Is har ko naam jap nirmal karma. But what does nirmal karma mean? A completely pure action, immaculate action, where there's no homement, there's no filth. You can never do a nirmal karma if you've never ever meditated on Guru's naam before. Har ko naam, once you start meditating on Harida naam, all the filth of your mind, of your antakaran, of your subconscious is all eradicated. Then any action that you do is always going to be pure. Okay. That is what it means. Har ko naam jap nirmal karma. Any action you do after that point, once you've reached, well, this is speaking about the avastha of Brahmagyan, of enlightenment. You can't just say, oh, the greatest dharma is just to, do good actions and I don't need to follow the Guru. Based on our own understanding, we want to take the Guru's teachings and adopt them according to our desires. We say, I think it means this. Which is good to try to comprehend Gurbani, but completely taking it out of the context. This is why you need Sadh Sangat. You need to understand Barni after Barni and sit in the Sangat of saints and scholars and elders to teach you. That's why in the Western world, I spoke before, the first question that comes out is why, how come? But in the Guru's house, it's Sat Bhajan. There's a different series that's going to be going up on our channel. In that, I'm going to be talking about the 10 signs of a Thermi person. Once you adopt all of those, then only then can you start walking the path of Naam. Once you walk the path of Naam, any action that you do will be completely immaculate. And then you don't see your body for what it is. You can walk the Dharam, the path of saints, and walk the true path of Dharam according to your Guru. Many times we do not understand Dharam, yet we tackle it and attack Dharam with our own buddhi, thinking to ourselves that we have reached Gyan Khand, but we haven't even reached Dharam Khand yet. Understanding Dharam Khand of how all of creation, and what are the laws within creation, and what is our place within that. You try to escape it, you cannot. You cannot escape Dharam because you are already a part of that. I want you to think of this one person. You all know who this one person is. When we speak about Dharam, there is another word that goes directly with it. Through Dharam, this word is born. This word is Siddak. Okay, what is the word? Siddak. Siddak means Vishwash. Utter faith, complete faith. There's no going back. Manne Dharam Seti Sanbandh. Manne Dharam Seti Sanbandh. That is what we speak about Bhai Taru Singh Ji. Bhai Taru Singh, born in the village Phula, grew up. When they were very, very young, their father said goodbye to their mother and his 2 children, Bhai Taru Singh and Bibi Tar Kaur. Went to battle, became Shaheed. Bhai Taru Singh, when they're 5 years old, they're sitting in their house and their mom is taking their kanga and combing Bhai Taru Singh's case. When we think about our kakars, this is a Dharam. Our Dharam is a Gursik. Without adopting Dharam, you cannot understand Gyan. Through the Guru's blessings, you understand Gyan. Bhai Taru Singh is having his mom comb his beautiful long case. And there's some conversations happening around. And he asks, Mom, what is everyone talking about? What is the crazy thing that happened at Lahore recently? And their mother, they explained to them, when they're 5 years old, because this was happening at that time, Bhai Mani Singh Ji had been taken to Lahore from Amritsar Sahib. Taken to Lahore, they've been cut into little bits. The head of Sri Darbar Sahib at the time, the head of the Panth at that time, had his body cut into bits. Bhai Taru Singh asks, why? What is the reason for that? And their mother said, because of the love with the Guru. And as their mother is combing their case, they say that your father went into battle and gave Shahidi for the exact same reasons. And Bhai Taru Singh is so astounded and so inspired by this. 20 years later, Bhai Taru Singh went into the same city and laid down their life as well. What is Dharam? What is Siddak? We spoke about yesterday in the Q&A. Tina dekh man chao thanda. This is how you grow your love for the Gursikhs. How you grow your love for the Guru. How do you grow in Dharam? You need to have that environment around you. Bhai Taru Singh sees what is right, sees that this is what I want to do as well. As soon as he has these thoughts inside of his mind, his mother says that, oh Taru Singh, your father has done this. Many great Singhs and Singhaniya in the past have done this. Just like your mother and father, many Gursikhs come to you and they say many Gursikhs have laid down their life for this path, for this Dharma. This was their siddiq, this was their faith, this was their love. This happened in the past. In the past they used to say that as well. Guess what? Maybe in 500 years from now, or 1,000 years from now, in the year 3018, they're going to say the Pratan Gursikhs of 2018, they used to get together at this Pratan historical site, which is now a Gurdwara now, and do basics of Sikhi camps. And they also used to sit down and they used to listen to this history of Bhai Taru Singh. But you know what was so funny? The person in 3018 is going to be saying, then none of them actually acted upon it. Do you want to be written down in history as that? Sometimes we don't realize when we speak about history, you are history right now. You are living history. You're going to be talked about in a way of the panth. You're going to be remembered whether you try to avoid it or whether you don't. Bhai Taru Singh, he grows up reading Gurbani. His love for Kirtan makes him drenched in that love. And truth is, just like we spoke about, where does Dharam come from? Where there is compassion, that's where Dharam exists. Bhai Taru Singh was the form of complete selflessness. He would go work in the fields. Ratan Singh Ji Pangur writes this in Sri Pant Prakash. That he was a jappi, he was a tapi. He's a great, tall, broad, healthy looking Singh. He always tried to balud the malla. He was a Nahang Singh. When he would go and work in the fields, he would earn for his sister and his mother. He would bring those earnings home. His sister would sew a chola for him. She would sew him clothes. He would take the new chola and he would go to the jungles and he would give it to the Singhs fighting the battles in the jungles, because what was happening at that time, it was the time when all of the Singhs and Singhaniya, they had to go and live on horseback because their villages and their houses got raided. They were being hunted. Zakaria Khan was on the hunt. Gursikhs living in jungles in small jathas, small groups. Nobody knew where each other was. There was no Facebook updates to contact each other. They were in the jungles. They lived off of bark. Sometimes they received prashada, sometimes they didn't. Bhai Taru Singh saw it to be his dharma to follow the Guru's path and do seva of Gursikhs. Bhai Taru Singh takes the new chola, goes and gives it to those Gursikhs in the jungle. And who was the jathedar of that small jatha that was living near the village of Bhai Taru Singh? The leader of that jatha, the jathedar, was Jathedar Bhai Madhab Singh. Jathedar Bhai Madhab Singh is the same Madhab Singh that went with Sukha Singh to chop off the head of Masarangar in Amritsar. When Masarangar attacked Darbar Sahib and he had prostitutes and dancers and alcohol inside of Sri Harmandir Sahib, Bhai Madhab Singh and Sukha Singh, they went from Damdama Sahib, went all the way to Amritsar Sahib and said that if we succeed in taking off the head of Masarangar, they dressed off as farmers. They went in, tried to show something to Masarangar. As soon as he looked in, Bhai Madhab Singh took out his kripan, jikara gidave fateh pave, naalo jave, and straight his head came off, went right into the sack. They brought it all the way back. That same Bhai Madhab Singh is now living in the jungle. He's the jathedar of the jatha, of the dal that's living close to Pind Fulla. Bhai Taru Singh is a Gursikh who's taking food, prashada, clothes. He receives a new dastar. He ties the old dastar, takes the new one to these Gursikhs. Their chole were ripped, lido lir hoye. They were just in strips. They weren't even chole anymore. Some of them didn't even have chole. They were literally just wearing a torn kashara and a kapda around their waist. They didn't have food. Bhai Taru Singh, he would take all the food to the Gursikhs, and then if they had food to eat at night, then they would eat. Maybe some of them, they would share one prashada amongst the three of them. The mother, the daughter, and Bhai Taru Singh. Any earning that they had, they would even go and give wealth to them. Everything that they received, he even got some of the villagers to start going and helping the Gursikhs. There was Bhai Naranjiniya, somebody who ratted out Bhai Taru Singh, went to Zakaria Khan. The army came, traveled into the village. Bhai Taru Singh was out working in the fields at that time. Whenever Bhai Taru Singh, look at this is the way their household would be. Every morning, all three of them would wake up. They would do Nitnem, Kirtan together. They would sing Asadivada Kirtan together. Their mother was very well trained in Kirtan. Their mother taught the child. The mother's effect on a child goes way beyond something that we can describe. The effect of a mother on the child begins from when the mother is born. That's when the effect starts. The mother was well trained in Kirtan. She was teaching her two children how to do Kirtan. Every single day of his life, Bhai Taru Singh did Asadivar Kirtan with the family. Then they went out and worked in the fields, returned home, allowed the mother and his sister to make the food, make the chole. He would put whatever he had, put it on top of his head, and he would carry it out at night time into the jungle where he would actually, with his own hands and feet, he would go and put bandages on the Gursikhs that were fighting the battle. He was going and tying the dastar on Gursikhs that didn't have the stars. He's taking his chola off and putting it on top of Gursikhs that didn't have clothes. Taking parshade and putting them into the hands and the mouths of those Gursikhs. Even though there was a want for a head of a Gursikh at that time. Whoever had a dastar, and it wasn't like Bhai Taru saying, oh, there's a need for my head. If I get caught wearing a damalla, then they're going to cut my head off. No. He wore full bana wherever he worked. And here's the beautiful thing. Because he was so Thermi, he was so full of compassion and love, the rest of the village was full of Hindus and Muslims. But not a single one of them would ever go against Bhai Taru Singh. Instead, they kept it hidden that a Gursikh lives in our village. They never told anybody. And even when the army came to the house, Bhai Taru Singh was working in the fields. His mother and his sister Bibi Tarkar are in the house. And look at the Dharma of their mother. Beautiful. There is a way, sometimes we forget these things. We say we want to become more advanced, more posh, more Western. There's nothing in that. The thing that you get in the sweetness of Gursikhi is beyond. What is the taram of a Gursikh when anybody enters their house? Nobody leaves without eating food. If you go to any Punjabi's house, even if they're not into Sikhi, some of these things are still coming through Sikhi into their families. Maybe a mom and dad are not into Sikhi at all. Maybe they're drinkers and Jovia. But anybody comes to their house, I've seen this. They will argue with them, they'll fight with them, but they're not allowed to leave without eating something. Even if it's a glass of water. That's Dharam. The army comes, the officers come. They knock on the door. They break the door open and they come and they say, where is Taru Singh? And mother of Bhai Taru Singh says, hold on my sons. It seems like you've traveled a long way all the way from Lahore. You've come here. Before you do anything else, come and sit down. Let's eat some prashada. I'm making some roti for you right now. Even though she knows they're here to take her son away, she still says, come and eat. And it's written that officer, he hadn't seen his mother for a long time. As soon as he heard the words of Bhai Taru Singh Ji's mother, he remembered his own mother, all his head and mind, they all went shant. He in his mind wanted to touch the feet. He wanted to hug Bhai Taru Singh's mother because he saw his own mother in him. This is what Dharam does. Sadharan Dharam. Through Sadharan Dharam you can connect with anybody. Because it's the law of being of everybody. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants happiness. Everybody wants to feel loved. They sit down and he says, oh mother, I do not want to do this anymore. I see the love inside of your house, but I have orders I have to take. I'm here to take your son away. Orders are to even take you and your daughter away. but I will not take you and your daughter. I will only take your son. And what is the beauty? Bhai Taru Singh arrives. Bhai Taru Singh is about to be taken. Cutting the story short. And the conversation between the mother and Bhai Taru Singh. The mother says, Bhai Taru Singh, I remember over 20 years ago, your father left in the same way. He was wearing a beautiful blue damalla like you. He had a beautiful long beard just like you. His face was radiant with the Guru's love. He was tall and handsome like you. He laid down his life for the Guru. If you are going, just like when you were young, I combed your case. I fed you lots of butter and lots of dud. I made sure there was no fault in the nutrition that went into your body. I even rubbed oil into your hair. And make sure when you go to Lahore now, don't even let a fire touch this case of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I am fine with hearing that your body is cut into pieces, but I'm not fine with hearing that you've let your case down, that you've let your siddiq down, that you let your Dharma of your Guru down. Vadde Mahampurkh say this beautiful arth of case. They say K, it means head. And then Su with the Onkar, it refers to Sundarta. The beauty of the head. That's what case is. The beauty of the face, but not just the face, the entire body. That's what case are. Bhai Taru Singh touches the feet of his mother. Goes, all of the Hindus and the Muslims, they're ready to lay down their lives for Bhai Taru Singh. They say, how can you take Bhai Taru Singh? He's the most righteous, he's the greatest saint in our village. You will, even the poor Hindus and the Muslims, they're saying you will have to kill us before we let you take Bhai Taru Singh. And Bhai Taru Singh says some beautiful words. He says that my battle is not against them. If you want to truly understand what my Dharma was to make the tawa, the stove, always hot in my house. The fire is always burning in my house for the Gursikhs in the jungles. And the truth is, if you want to live according to my Dharma, start the fire inside of each and every one of your houses, in each and every one of your kitchens. If I'm not able to do this seva anymore, you make the prashada, sow the chole, and take it to those Gursikhs that are living outside of the jungles. Bhai Taru Singh is taken. Pareo, this news gets taken to Bhai Madhab Singh. This is, what is the love? There's a dharma between Gursikhs amongst each other as well. We forget this sometimes. A dharma, a Gursikh with a Gursikh. I mil Gursikh, I mil tu mere Guru ke pyare. You are my beloved, oh my pyare. Bhai Madhab Singh hears that Taru Singh, the person, the young Singh that has been doing seva, gone through all these troubles for us, and he gets to achieve Shahidi first. How is this? We were the ones fighting in the battle, and he's going to achieve Shahidi first. Bhai Madhab Singh stands up in front of everybody and says, Khalsa Ji, choose your new Jathedar, I'm going to Lahore. He says, choose your new Jathedar. The Singhs say, why? What's going on? He's saying, because we were the ones supposed to be dying in the battle. The person that was doing our seva, why does he get to be blessed before us? That is Dharma. Pareo, Bhai Taru Singh is being carried in on this side. Bhai Madhab Singh is traveling towards Lahore. Bhai Taru Singh has one thought in his mind. He says that I do have one sadness in my mind, one sorrow. And he thinks to himself that after today, I won't be able to get the vision of the Gursikhs. I won't be able to get the darshan of those Gursikhs anymore I used to do seva of. Look at that love. That's what dharma is of a Gursikh. Even love in itself has a dharma. There's a law of being of what love is. Sometimes we take a love out of context. Bhai Taru Singh says, I'm very happy, I'm walking in the will of my Guru, but one sadness is I won't get darshan of those Gursikhs anymore. I won't get the darshan of the Khalsa anymore. Pareo, Bhai Taru Singh is sitting in jail. Bhai Madhab Singh arrives in Lahore, he is arrested, taken into the same jail cell. Many of us don't know that they became shaheed together. As soon as Bhai Madhab Singh is brought into that same jail cell, Bhai Taru Singh says, Madhab Singh, tusi itthe. What are you doing here, Babaji? And Jathedar Bhai Madhab Singh says, aren't you the one that said that you wanted to have darshan of the Khalsa? You asked in your mind for the darshan of the Khalsa. The Khalsa is here to give you darshan. That is what true love is. That's what the Dharma of the Guru is. Gursikha andar Satguru varta hai. The Gursikhs know and the Guru knows. Pareo, the truth is, both of them go, and as they're having this conversation, they know they are going to become shaheed. The conversation takes place. Bhai Madhab Singh says, how could you become shaheed before me? We were the one fighting in the battle. And Bhai Taru Singh says, well, isn't it a wondrous act? It's the wondrous play of the Guru, but don't worry. If I get to go become shaheed before you, I'll wait for you. I'll let you enter Sachkhand before I do. The love of Gursikhs. The next day arrives. Zakaria Khan says, I will take my juttiyan, I will beat them on top of your head, I will take all of your hair off. And Bhai Taru Singh, they come in to beat us, and they say, you won't be able to even touch my hair, but instead, I will take you with the point of my shoe, and I will beat you all the way to the doors of death, all the way to the doors of hell. Bhai Taru Singh is put on the ground, his bones are crushed, he is tortured, he is whipped, yet he's still saying Tan Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Sache Paatshah on his tongue every moment. Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheguru is on his tongue. That is the Dharam of your tongue. That is, what is the Dharam of your eyes? What is the Dharam of your ears? What is the Dharam of your being? What is the Dharam of your love with the Guru? They tried to cut the case were not cut. Because he called out to my Guru, he said, Sache Paatshah, I've made all my efforts. Now it's up to you. If you want to walk the path of Sikhi, never forget these two words. One word is Raza. The next word is Nadar. Hukum Razai Chalana Nanak Likhanal. You make all the efforts, but you never demand bakshish. You never demand blessings. When the Guru blesses you, even if you do one bit of seva and you get blessed, that is great. Even if you do lifetimes of seva and you don't get blessed, you are still walking in the raza. Don't make these trades and these transactions with the Guru. Bhai Taru Singh says, Sache Paatshah, I've made it up to here. Now it is not within my control. Bhai Taru Singh does ardas, and his hair is not able to cut. In history writes, his hair turned into the strength of steel or iron wires. They said, take his kopadi off if this is the case. Remove his entire scalp. Pareo, the rambiyan, they're made hot. They put to the front, and first the meat is cut off from the scalp. The blood is pouring down. Bhai Taru Singh's face is red. His Darla that was just beautifully flowing black before, it is now flowing the color of red. When the meat is cut from the front, taken to the right side and taken to the left side. Once the bone is found, then it is put, and from the back a hammer is hit into that chisel. And the front is chiseled. Then the right side and the left side. And now it is completely cracked. And now from the back, it just takes one little hit. And as soon as they hit, the kopadi came off. And it was a fountain of blood that came out of the head of Bhai Taru Singh Ji. But on the tongue of Bhai Taru Singh Ji, Bhai Taru Singh is still reading. Jeanine naam te aaya gayam sakatkal nanak te makujle keti shutti. Now still reading Deputies Sahib the part. What is the Dharam with your love of your Guru? Do you love your body more or do you love your Guru more? Bhai Taru Singh does not die. The words of a Gursikh come true. This is the Dharam of the Guru. Because a Gursikh has a Dharam and the Guru has a Dharam towards his Gursikhs as well. Bhai Taru Singh did not die. History writes he lived on for 22 more days. Some say, how is that possible? Satgur mera marji wala hai. My Guru decides. Avan jana hukum te sehka. My Guru decides when somebody dies and when somebody is born. Bhai Taru Singh is standing. He's laying down. His kopadi is off. And there is a Zakaria Khan is not able to urinate anymore. There is a knot in his stomach. And as the days go by, he is in more and more pain. Eventually, he calls many doctors, many Ayurvedics. Everyone has a try. And then there was one Gursikh whose name was Bhai Sobeg Singh, who was working inside of the government of Zakaria Khan. He said, go and ask Sobeg Singh. Sobeg Singh was lived up to his Dharam, not said that I need to get pay for you. Remember, Sobeg Singh and Sabaz Singh also became shaheed after. This is that same Sobeg Singh. Sobeg Singh is part of that. And he says, you slandered a Gursikh. And now the Gursikh's words will come true. You have to be beat on the head with Bhai Taru Singh's shoes. Zakaria Khan says, do whatever. The shoe, he goes and he takes first the water from the river, washes Bhai Taru Singh. By now, there was so much blood on Bhai Taru Singh that even his kashara and the clothes, they were completely drenched and it was dry blood. Bhai Taru Singh has been sitting there for 22 days. Pareo, the shoe is washed from Bhai Taru Singh. Bhai Subeg Singh bows down to Bhai Taru Singh. Bhai Taru Singh is still very briefly breathing, and you can hear the sound of Deputy Sahib still coming out from each and every one of their cells. And now the shoe is taken by Subeg Singh. Subeg Singh goes and beats it on the head of Zakaria Khan. Zakaria Khan feels at ease, and he says, beat me more. And the more and more beatings come, he goes unconscious, and because of his pain in his stomach, he had been diseased so much that he passes away at that time. And as soon as Zakaria Khan passes away, that's when Bhai Taru Singh lets go of their last breath. After that, Bhai Madhab Singh becomes Shaheed. Pyaro Ratan Singh Pangus writes this last thing that I'm going to say. Look at this beautiful Dharma amongst Gursikhs. Bhai Taru Singh walks into Sachkhand. They walk into the court of the Guru. In front of them, they see Guru Gobind Singh Ji sitting in front of them. On the right side, they see Bhai Mani Singh Ji. Bhai Mani Singh Ji had earned that spot because whoever sits on the right side of the Guru is the closest to the Guru, the most beloved of the Gursikhs. Amongst them, there are many other Gursikhs. Pyaro, when Bhai Taru Singh walks in, Bhai Mani Singh Ji stands up. This is all taking place inside of Sachkhand. Bhai Mani Singh Ji stands up. Bhai Taru Singh says, why are you standing up? Bhai Mani Singh Ji says, you were inspired by my Shaheedi to lay down your life for the Guru. Now you've gone beyond my status. Now this place is not mine anymore. Bhai Taru Singh, you sit closest to the Guru now. I will not sit here. Look at the love of Bhai Taru Singh Ji for Gursikhs. Bhai Taru Singh Ji says, wait, I cannot sit here. I do not deserve to sit here. Bhai Taru Singh says, the only reason I was even able to achieve Shaheedi, achieve the Seva, is because of my beloved brother. These beloved Gursikhs, Bhai Madhab Singh Ji, just wait a few more minutes. Bhai Madhab Singh Ji is also on their way. I'm going to let Bhai Madhab Singh sit closest to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sache Pacha. That is the love of Gursikhs. Pareo, even if you look into the Bible, Samson, the power of his case, as soon as the case were cut, that's when he lost his power. And we look into side of Surah Prakash. I'm going to do Samapti after this. I want you to just read this with me. Somebody asked, why do we keep our case? Is this a Dharam? Is this needed for a Gursikh? Somebody says, no, that says, O Sache Pacha, you have created a new Dharam, a new path. You've created a new chola, a new dress. And you kept your case. Bana racho case rakhavyo. Why do you keep your case? Guruji, you help the poor. Why have you kept case as part of your dress code? Hearing this nonid, Guruji said, you have learnt a lot. You have studied many Shastra. You know a lot about the Veds. You know about history. So you have spent your entire life listening and reciting the Shastras. Yet you have not come to realize this answer. Why do you not know this? Adorning the kesh, Dharma rakhan. Shadik Pale, adorning case is beneficial, it allows somebody to grow their Dharam. And then since the beginning, Sankadik te avat chale, from the beginning of time, every Dharmi person, even Jesus, even Muhammad, even any Dharam, if Shankaracharya, you look at anybody, they all kept their case in the great land of Bharat. In this Khand, keeping kesh is a part of Dharam. This is part of being Dharmi, walking the path of spirituality. And listening to the answer, Naunid said, what you said is true. Everyone used to keep the case, however, times have changed. You got to be, it's the industrial age, the age of information. We live in England now, we live in Canada now. We have to go according to what Kim Kardashian does. Times have changed. Nahi Pyareo, Guruji says, how have time changed? The same sun remains. The same moon remains. The same water that Guru Nanak Dev Ji used to drink. The same earth and the same fire. How can you blame time? Somebody even asked, why do you read the same Japji Sahib? And Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, it's because everything remains the same. Your trends, your mind has changed. The information you perceive has changed. But the truth is, all the elements remain the same and your ignorance remains the same as well. Blame yourself for not being able to keep the kesh. Speaks Nonid. You do not have the strength to keep your case, so you dismissively blame the times for changing. These are the words of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sahib Sache Pacha, written by Kavi Santokh Singh. Jo tan cheera angana moro. Kahan payo jo tan payo chene chene prem jaye, to dar paye tere jan. Pyareo, the water has a dharma, fire has a dharma. A law of being, human has a law of being, and a Gursikh has a law of being. Your relationship with the Guru has a law of being. It's inside of a dharma. So Pyareo, let's first understand dharma before we doubt, before we question Guru or love. All of these answers of yours will get answered afterwards.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.